Welcome back, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, and it's good to be back here with the Industry Brief. Good to be back with Spencer. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Doing good. It's fat and happy.
Fat and happy, and pretty upset about all these prices going up with DRAM. What's your take on all this?
Oh, prices, right? I mean, it's Black Friday. Normally that's when people would be getting good prices, but that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing particularly DRAM, so the RAM for your computer, and the higher end quality stuff that people look to put into their PC rigs. It's up like 300% since September. And I don't know if it's coming down anytime soon.
I don't think it's coming down unless we start ramping up production, because with the AI, all the NVIDIA, I think, is it NVIDIA who's buying all this? Is it mostly OpenAI? Where's all this DRAM going?
I mean, NVIDIA is the hardware production company for all of the AI. So like they are consuming it for let me see. They're devouring like high bandwidth memory for their specifically AI data center chips, right? And so the economic incentive, because they have such high demand, like we talked about in the previous episode, their quarterly earnings were like up in 53 or 63 billion.
Right.
Crazy. Like that's profit or revenue. I would say revenue. And that's just a bonkers number. And so the demand is not slowing because the race is still on. And so people are building data centers as fast as they can, right? Which means that the manufacturing providers, the people that make the chips, they're incentivized to just provide the DRAM to the highest bidder, which is going to be NVIDIA, because NVIDIA, people want their chips so bad they can charge a premium for that. And that cost is trickling down into the consumer products where there's not enough producers. And ramping up that production is not a simple process.
It takes so much time. It takes so much time and labor. And also, by the way, it's very uncertain right now. Like there's a lot of uncertainty. So companies are probably just going to retain. Maybe they'll ramp up production a little, but like the fear of ramping up production to then have a crash, right? Like at least that's where my mind would be at, because.
But you can't ever. Yeah, go on.
Oh no, but like it's more of the reason why, and I understand where you're about to go. Like you can't not just go and try to supply demand, right? That's going to be the natural inclination. But like there's always this caveat, right? You're going to ramp up, but when you can charge extra, why ramp up, right? You can slowly ramp up. When you can charge premiums, you can increase. Like it's not going to increase your costs, by the way, right? You're still producing at the same cost level, but they can now increase the price. The only reason why you would want to then ramp up production and decrease price is this competition, right? Like if there's only a handful of players like, I'm not saying it's right, but I am just saying, like, just understanding the behavior
of it. Yeah.
The economics of it is right now there's huge demand. It's going to then cost them a ton to then ramp up production, right? Because it means increase labor, increase factory, increase machinery, right? Like all these things come into play. So if we were to talk about what's going on, if we were to say consoles, all this stuff, prices are just going to increase because it's all just going to come down to the consumer, and it's not going to change anytime soon. And that's relative, right? What does anytime soon mean? A year? Does anytime soon mean 6 months? I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's probably based off of the industry itself. But like, I don't see them ramping up production that fast. And I also don't see, if I'm the head of any of these companies, it's like ramp up production, but be cautious. Like I'd only ramp it up some, because if you ramp it up a ton, you take on a bunch of risk, like, and then things burn, right? Things crash and burn. So like, that's where I say right now, prices are just going to trickle down, where consoles are going to increase. Everything's going to increase. And Xbox can now blame, like, I think the mistake Xbox made is not like, I hate to say it this way, but branding wise, just point fingers.
From like
Right, this is the time.
like a PR perspective.
Yeah, from a PR's perspective, like, hey, RAM's gone up. Like, there's nothing we can do. Blame it them. You know what I mean? It's like start pointing fingers and be like, this is why we're increasing costs. And they always do this during COVID.
It's true. That's true. They did during COVID, but their hands are a little tied because they're one of the biggest investors in OpenAI. So, like, that kind of pops that bubble a little bit. You're
But
like,
they
oh,
always cannibalize.
those pesky AI companies, like,
Yeah, but they're separated in some ways. Like, again, PR is just about making yourself look good. And so you can say, why are we increasing costs? Well, costs are just going up because of the AI demand. And, we're sorry. We have to, like, I'm not saying like it, but it's always flipping that, where I feel like Xbox has done a terrible job
yeah.
with their PR.
Yeah.
Where Steam, right? They're releasing this console and people are going to be upset if it's a high cost, but somehow it's like, I don't know. They just, because of the positive around the brand, the negativity isn't there as much. I don't know.
What's interesting about that is I heard that, and I don't know where the report came from. I got to take a closer look at it. But remember, almost all consoles have been sold as loss leaders, right?
Right.
I heard that Valve was not going to do that.
They're going to sell for a profit.
Yeah, at least that cost. It's just it's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see how
it's a bold move.
See how it pays off, right? I mean, like, well, I suppose one of the reasons why is that they don't have, like, in the past you sell it at a loss because you had such a monopoly over the supply. It was like you get your console in the house, and then people have to buy your contemporary, format, and that's where you get all the Steam machine. I suppose, like, yeah, people are still gonna buy off of Steam, but it's not really fixed to that, right? Like,
no, people it's a add-on. It's if you want to play our games in multiple ways, right? Whether on your TV or remote, right? With the Steam Deck, like, it's remote, excuse me, just like out and about.
Yeah.
But you get my point, right? And so that I think that actually is smart. If they were to sell it for a loss, that's indicative of it's a Razor and Blades model, or for them it's not.
Yeah. So, how do you think it's going to pan out or what do you think the price point is going to be if they don't sell it at a loss?
I think it's going to be like 800. I think 600 to 800 minimum. Right?
So is this just supposed to be your entry level, get it for your kid PC?
No, I think it's for the adults. I don't think this is targeting kids. This is for adults that play Steam games that also want to play it on their TV. You know what I mean? I feel like this is a convenience console.
Mm-hmm.
What was the Steam Deck? 700? 600? I think it was 500 for like the cheaper version.
Yeah, but it's gone down a little bit, hasn't it? But let's say that it is like at $800. I think most people were saying, okay, well then why would I buy that instead of an Xbox that I can get at $600 that has more power? So that's like I'm
Xbox isn't going to be $600 anymore.
But isn't that the new price that they raised it to?
I thought it was like 650, 700.
Yeah. So,
what was it now?
But that was what they
650.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so maybe they raised it up to 700 in light of like the new cost. But
I agree. I bet they were wanting to release it around 500 to 600. But with all these, with the DRAM, with the raise of price, I think there's a reason why they're not saying price. I feel like they're waiting to see where things go because manufacturing right now is super uncertain.
Yeah. And it's like maybe they're hoping that by the release date of the Steam machine that will have gone down, right?
Yes. And so I bet price is in discussion still there, right? I bet they have things. I bet they had a price, and I bet it was around 600. Like, just if it's 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, if it's going to probably be, it's going to be a similar vein to an Xbox. If it's supposed to be profitable, it's not a Razor and Blades model. Like, all those things make me go, what's a good PC that's like bare bones? 500-600. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not really profitable. So that's why you go 500-600, and then with the DRAM, with all these increased costs with supply chain and the shortage on tons of stuff, I feel like it's going to be maybe 700 now.
Yeah. 700. See, 700, I still think that they could get away in the new world, just because of the flexibility that you get. You do get more flexibility than the other consoles. You know, but it sounds like if these prices don't take out, so like the amount of time that it takes to ramp up a chip fab facility. Okay, so these are complicated machines. Okay, it is very complicated. You get them in, for example, in my lab, we have something that's called like an e-beam lithography. They use an electron beam to write the circuits on the little chip. And it's the size of a small room, and it can. So it's the size of a small room, and then this is your output, the size of your output.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you get, it's that they installed it and we're building it for about 3 months, and then they have to do like a month's worth of characterization, and that's one machine, right? And so you have this whole pipeline, and this is in an academic setting, so it's even more strict. It's like less complicated than it would be for full production, because in full production you need way higher yields. You need your yields to be
the efficiency, all that stuff. It's got to be.
Yeah, like every chip that comes out, like I don't think people understand this. This is actually something kind of interesting, but like these chips that we're making, you can buy like say like an i9 or an i7 or an i5. They're all the same chip.
Right. I remember you hearing about this.
It's just that there's a probability that a certain number of every transistor has a probability of failing. And wherever you land on that, how many of those transistors fail, that's like, if it's like, oh, well, 10% fail, then we can package that as an i7. If it's above 90%, then we can package it as an i9. If it's below 60%, then we package it as an i5. They figured out a way to sell their trash, which is really interesting. But it's just like, that's how complicated this is. These are the best companies in the world that have done this for years. And they have to figure out how to, get their yields are just so difficult to maintain. Right. So
it's impossible to predict. I think that's and so they created a model around that unpredictability.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, you're working at the edge of physics. And so like you're looking at 2.5 years for like getting a chip fab up and running. Now you might be able to accelerate some of that, depending on what regulations the administration decides to cut or not cut, or that they decide to cut and do. But I mean, for example, if you're trying to build a plant in California, there's going to be a lot of environmental regulations that you have to do, because these things consume a ton of water, and stuff like that. So,
but we have them here in Arizona, which is crazy. Like the amount of that's the only reason why I know. I've been thinking about this a lot, because they're building the TSMC of the United States here in Arizona, right? Like 50 minutes away from me, and we don't have water.
Yeah, where are you getting it?
Like, I suppose we have water. I guess they're using all of our water. I don't know, but like, the point though is, and there's a lot of issues. They're having a hard time finding talent, by the way, to actually like quality talent to run these. What do you call them? Prefab, the fabrication plants.
Yeah, chip fabs.
And so I just think the problem I keep having. This goes back to our conversation earlier. It's like, what are the prices? What is the future of the consoles? I think all of this stems back to what is production? Production because of wars. I think there's a lot of uncertainty. It's why there's been a lot of push to move like TSMC and move chip fabrication to the United States. It's like there's so much need for this in weaponry now in the future of AI. Like it just feels like video games is oftentimes at the forefront of these innovations. And then like Nvidia was, dude, they were a video game company, graphics card company. It felt like that's how I knew them. And then now they're an AI, they're for AI. It's like it feels like the companies like Facebook was a social media company. It feels like so many people start in entertainment or start in video games and start at the cusp, and then it's just like so why build for video games though when you have a group of people who are very particular? We want high quality hardware for cheap. You know what I mean? And so
yeah, I mean, video games is great. Like I was listening to the new NASA administrator. He was saying we need to crack the economic code for space, right? Like if we can figure out what incentivizes people to get there economically, like there's money to be made in space,
for sure.
Then all the money flows into figuring, like then there'll be plenty of money to solve all the complex,
figure out the problems in space,
exactly.
Right? Like
we'll get nuclear propulsion, we'll get all these cool things, right? Because people need it. And video games they figured out how to what the consumer market wants out of cutting edge silicon, cutting edge chips. And so you're right. I mean, it's like, what's that? The famous what was it, the PS3, the United States Air Force chained those together to make a supercomputer.
And I think yeah, it was the PS3, and also I don't know if it was the PS2 where it was not allowed to sell into certain countries, and there was, it was both of them. I think both PS2, PS3, they were so advanced that there was regulation from the US on a Japanese company on what countries
it's almost
they could sell,
like weapon tech.
Yeah, exactly. It was weapon tech, so like they weren't allowed to sell it. I'm like, we're talking about a video game console here,
right? That's wild. And it's like, if you think about that, like if you're just like a gamer that maybe doesn't think that much about these sides of things, like our demand has generated some of the most advanced technological achievements of mankind. It's like it's pretty wild. And like, I want more frames. Like, and I will
give me more.
And they're like, all right, we will mobilize the most complex machines in human history to give you more frames. It's like, all right,
and make them not only more frames, but make it so that I can move faster.
Yeah,
and it's just that is funny. Like and make it so cheap that a common dude can pay for it, right? Like that's
right. Like gaming's the cheap hobby. Right?
I don't know about and that's the question is it a cheap hobby anymore?
Well, and I think that's a big issue with this, is that gaming has been the hobby of the masses because you were able to get such a deep experience, and you were able to get it for cheap, and you could do it wherever you were. You didn't have to be living next to the mountains for the ski resort. You didn't have to be in the desert for the mountain biking. You didn't have to be at the beach for the whatever sport you're doing there. Or it's not like going to the movies where it's a one and done. Like, so like,
well, part of it is like even the arcades. You don't have to go. I think the evolution of video games itself. It's the amount of money you'd have to go and burn to have a fun day at the arcades, right? It's just it was at home console, right? And it's anyways, but yeah, it's just. It was just like going to the movies, by the way, was supposed to be the poor man's, going to a play. That's you hear about Tarantino.
Theater, right?
It's the poor man's theater, right? Like video games was meant to be the poor man's activities.
Yeah, and so it's like if that is at the core of our industry, and if that goes away, let's be honest, I don't think it will go away forever. But like, if it goes away for a time, let's say we're looking at a 3-year span before we can get a surplus of fabs, even let's say a 5-year span before we can get a surplus of fabs that can provide, they can use, they don't have to do the cutting edge stuff. They can there are enough fabs to satisfy cutting edge AI demand that then they can start making DRAM for the masses, so to speak. Like, what is that going to do to the gaming industry? What is that going to do? Are we just all going to just say, all right, well, I guess we're just buying, games from the previous 15 years and just playing them on our potatoes?
Well, I was about to say, I think, let me tell a story from that. I met a guy, and I haven't had the opportunity to actually sit down and meet with him in person, but we chatted over the phone. He was young. I think he's 20, 21, young cat at ASU. He built a platform that was specifically, he was making basically potato games for potatoes, right? Like where they could be played on any kind of device. That's the platform. That's his shtick. He was just making games, and he had millions of users. Millions. We're talking about some kid that's 2021 was building a platform where he himself was just making games, just multiple of them that were just low quality, I guess maybe low bandwidth. What's better term here?
Oh, just low demand. Low demand games, like they didn't.
No, there's a demand for them, but
Sorry,
maybe
like,
low demand hardware wise. Yeah.
Low specs.
Low specs, great. I was trying to, however you want to phrase it, you get the point. But like that was his point, and he was getting so many users because I think we think about in our own minds just about the U.S. Think about India, billions of people, and what their access is. Right? Think about all across the world what their access is to this kind of hardware, right? And so what's fascinating is Steam has this, but games that are and can be played on a potato, right? Like that might be games that are in that, like, may start seeing a rise in the US. I don't think we've seen that as much, but as I think you'll start having tiers of different markets, right? Where those that can afford the $1,000 console, right, will pay for the console and be able to afford, which will now be $80, $90 games.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it, but I feel like we're going to start seeing tiers, and that's where you'll start seeing people that will pay for cloud gaming because they can maybe afford only this, but they want to play those games, but they can't afford hardware, right? Like,
yeah.
Then does that make sense? Like, you start being like, all right, and those that play on Steam and only buy, like, they have a potato of a computer, but they can buy these games that can be played on a potato. Like, it just, I think that's what we're going to start seeing, sadly. It's just almost tiers. And so these high production, high quality games they're going to be expensive. And
so you think that we're going to see more Star Citizens?
More Star Citizens, yeah.
And that is like a, it's a game, that when I look at it, I'm fascinated by it, but I'm also, I sort of feel like, oh, that's outside of my my cost.
Your budget.
Yeah, my budget.
Yeah.
Right? Like both time and money, right? Because I'm like, it's amazing, but it's like there's no way that I can experience this the way it's meant to be experienced with my resources.
That or microtransactions. Again, it then becomes open. That or it's open demand, right? Like anything. Fortnite is an open demand game, and for those if that doesn't make sense, like closed demand, a game that is $60 for everyone is called closed demand. Doesn't matter if I'm willing to spend $1,000 to buy this game or if I'm willing to spend zero, right? Only those that have a threshold, meaning they are willing to spend over $60 to buy this game, will buy it, right? So that's closed demand. There's a demand curve that gets cut off, right?
Yeah.
Like anybody below that $60 threshold will not buy. But like open demand games, Fortnite, like some will spend tens of thousands and some will never spend a dime, right? Like that's an open demand game, and that's become a prominent model, right? Roblox, a lot of these are
you get to capture
the
entire curve.
Which is why I think we've seen so many open demand games are dominating, because of that's the other thing that people aren't like. Why is Fortnite so successful? Because it's like, dude, kids are poor, families are poor, people are poor. It's like I can play Fortnite on a potato. You know what I mean? And it's like I can play Roblox on a potato, and they're open demand games. Like I get to experience so many different, gameplay loops. There's different ways. And so
or like Counter-Strike.
I think that's the other thing. Counter-Strike, right? But like that's an open demand game, but it's even more limited because there's a reason why Roblox is so successful. right? It's a open demand game that's also an open engine game, which is why Fortnite's trying to mimic that. But like that's the other thing. You ask, where is this going? It's going towards separation of people, right? What's the separation? It's people that want to buy a console, buy games, have the money to do that, or like my nephew, he sits on Roblox all day. You know, my other nephew, he was a huge Fortnite guy, and like, but he would, or Minecraft, like, you see what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I see a lot of this going, and why these games are so successful, I think, is because they just capture the market.
That's why I'm kind of surprised that um, the Steam machine isn't trying to be. It sounds weird, but try to be more of a potato. You know?
Yeah, be a crappier just hardware that people can be able to.
especially if like costs just like go up. I wonder if they introduce like a light version, where they just sort of downgrade some of the hardware. Like from what I understand, the reason that they picked the hardware that they did is that they have access to all of the Steam specs. So the specs of all Steam users, right?
Yeah.
So they know the percentages, right? And
Where 95% will, yeah.
those distributions are going to have really long tails, right? Because you're going to have the Linus Tech Tips, you know, who's just like, well, you know, I've got enough GPUs to, you know, train an AI model, and I'm, you know,
I know.
I'm, you know, running. Let's see how many, or like, what was it? They did one where it was they did a cryo cooled PC with like liquid nitrogen to see how many frames they could get out of Doom Eternal. And they just pushed it, dude, like into like thousands of frames. Anyways, but yeah, there's going to be a long curve, like a long tail on that curve. But you're right. It's like, dude, we can capture 70% of users with these specs, you know?
Yeah, in 70% in majority of games, right? The amount of people that are publishing games on Steam, the majority of them, right? They don't require. And I say that like certain games that require some crazy specs, but like I think majority of them don't.
I mean, let's be honest. Like,
and so,
like League of Legends, Dota, like,
oh yeah,
they're potato games,
potatoes.
right?
Even Deadlock, because I play Deadlock a ton. Like I can play Deadlock. I don't know if I could play it on my 1060 laptop. That's 8
They're
years old,
pushing it.
maybe.
Well, but you know, there's always like I think these developers understand that, and they build in a lot of sliders so you can set the minimum.
And that's very true, right? Like, and they still look good. The game still looks like they had the game a year ago when I was playing Deadlock when it first came out.
Yeah,
Like I've been on Deadlock from almost week one.
like day one. Yeah,
Yeah, and it is leaps and bounds better looking, right? And because the models, the polygons count has increased drastically and all that stuff. But it's like probably for the guy that's on the potato. So
it looks the same.
It looks the same, but yeah.
Here's an interesting thought though. Okay, so there's been a lot of controversy about Call of Duty 7. People say the campaign looks funky, and there are, you know, sometimes I think borderline, you know, putting on tinfoil hats where people are like, "There's AI everywhere, buddy," and like,
yeah,
and to some extent that's probably true. But I've been thinking about maybe it was a Ubisoft. Yeah, they made. I saw a news article where Ubisoft made an experimental kind of development. It's not really a full game. They're just trying to see. It's a test, right?
sure.
And they like had some surveys about it, and because they were doing it internally. And one of the things that they were trying to test out is how do we use large language models for NPCs and dialogue, which I think is a really fascinating idea. I know people like dislike AI, but AI is too blanket of a term. People dislike the generative AI of art.
The reason why people don't like AI is because when it removes the human. I think that's like, if we get to like the base, the base reason, it's when it removes human when it shouldn't.
Okay, right. And what's interesting is that humans for like NPCs, say in Elder Scrolls games, have been gone for a long time. right?
For sure.
Yeah, because
It's an AI, it's some kind of, yeah.
right, they figured out like, hey, we don't have to record. Sometimes they do have voice lines for everything. And I understand that people are like, well, we don't want to take away like the voice actors, but I would rather that they take their budget and they put it towards a few very select characters, and then you have like a massive like it's
Mm.
just that look, Red Dead 2 was super expensive to make. I don't know if we can like justify that anymore. Like companies are getting real skittish about spending that much money because they keep doing it, and sometimes they are just flops. And so it's like in an ideal world, like cost cutting is not bad as if the quality of the product is not impacted.
Eh, yes, and I think let me add some interesting context that I recently learned. Supercell, are you familiar with the company?
Heard of it, don't know that much about them.
I didn't either. They have just a bunch of small teams, and I didn't know this. The company's made up of just a bunch of small teams working on their own projects. And we're talking like 10, 20, 30 teams, like small teams. And I've been preaching that. And it's not like I know what I'm talking about, but I found that really fascinating. And the point is, it's better to have these small teams that can make great games, retain the passion, have all the talent. And
Right.
then especially with these tools, right now you get to have the passion, create a great gameplay loop, not have too much overhead and too much bloat with all the people that have to be involved, right? Like I just I'm wondering if people will start doing that more. Like imagine if you could make Red Dead with a smaller team and you had a lot of those filler characters or whatever it is, a lot of these things that were, I don't know, it's not like it's taking away jobs, but is it creating more? I don't know.
It's
Does that
enabling a smaller team to
It's
have.
enabling.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like now you have a team of 10 people and a budget. They say, look, the most we can give you is $10 million. Like, um, they could maybe do a lot with that.
Yes, and I do think though it's always when you when you speak like this, and I understand where it's like, but people will not think that way. Business, you can think about that way in two ways, right? It's like one is it will enable, the other it will destroy, right? Like it will get
Yeah,
rid of people's jobs,
right,
right? Like it just because people do anything
right,
to cut costs versus like maybe actually finding things to enable.
and,
That's
right. And we've covered that
we've covered
in
that.
the previous episode, but I think what's an interesting part about this conversation is from the technical aspect of how LLMs work.
Hmm.
I mean, it's if I was, I mean, the thought of me being able to say play that the idea that I had was like, if you ever played like any of the Tom Clancy games, um, what was it called, Wildlands, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you're doing like uh, you can command your squad, like it's kind of squad like games where you're like, it's sort of like a tactical single player.
Hmm.
Um, a I think it'd be really interesting. Imagine if you just had to actually talk to them. Like you don't just press it up on the D-pad, go here and do this. You like actually have to describe what's going on and use like kind of proper lingo. Like
Mm.
from kind of like and you could maybe adjust the level that they like get it, you know. But if you could actually like talk to them and have them respond in this almost human way, obviously it would be a small LLM that's you know fixated around a certain set of rules, a certain context, right? Which is the
Sure.
context of whatever this mission is. Um, like that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool, and like you could make that. But what I was thinking about was like, man, that could take. We could see tech in games that we've never seen before and advanced gameplay. But how do we do that technically? Like that would have to happen very quickly. Games have to happen quickly, which if it happens quickly, it means has to happen locally. And if it's happening locally, that means you need power there. You need computational bulk.
Mm.
And if costs are going up massively, then you might see, like you said, a larger striation where it's like, oh, now the rich people that can afford all of the power, they can get to run the models locally and experience these AI games, because you can't get that through the internet. It takes too long usually. They might be able to figure out some way to do it through connectivity, maybe on cloud gaming, but I think that's a case to be made by saying that the world of potatoes might end up. I don't think the world of potatoes has really lacked that much. For the most part, they've been able to experience anything everybody else has because of sliders and stuff.
Majority, yeah. I think there's, and if not experience it now, maybe experience it in a few years.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's.
But if the world of potatoes suddenly is locked out of like gameplay, like
Almost gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, gameplay mechanics and like whole games that are built around this, is like we can't even offer that to you without computational power.
Well, that almost becomes a new subscription model, though. It's like microtransactions. It's like, do you want to experience this where it's fully interactive, right? Or do you want to experience this where, pre-written lines?
Mm-hmm.
Like that may be.
It's true.
And I haven't, like, it just becomes a new form of microtransactions. Like, do you want to experience this game like in the premium version? Do you want to experience this game in the poor man's version, right? It's like,
I can see what you're saying. You're trying to say that they might have to figure out ways to make open models that are now not based on the people's economic capacity, like Fortnite, right? But instead based on what hardware they have.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people. It's like, as these things change, new models arise, and I always say we got to finish up here in a second, but I'll add this, and I'd like to get your thoughts. 3 types, right? There's always 3 things when it comes to companies. It's product, it's brand, and it's model. Always those 3. Well, like what's if you can nail those 3 things, that's how you find insane success. And it's tiered, right? It compounds.
All right, say that one more time. So it's
product,
okay,
brand, model. And in video games, so that would be the world or the story, right? So that would be the brand, the world, story, think about Hollow Knight. There's a world, a story, there's a brand. Does that make sense? Okay. You have the product, which would be the gameplay. How's it experienced? How's it feels? How's the fun?
Yep.
And you have the model. What's the price? Where is it distributed?
Yeah. GTA.
Does that make sense? So
GTA's got a great,
GTA.
You've got a brand to it. Product is
brand,
playing
product, and then they master the model with GTA Online.
Yeah.
By the way,
is it a subscription? What is the model for that one?
I thought it was free. I thought it was free to play.
It's free to play, and then you just microtransactions GTA. For stuff in it. I mean, it makes sense. It has a huge following.
I'm pretty dang sure. Yeah, it's play Grand Theft Auto, play free on desktop. I'm pretty sure it was a free to play game.
Okay. Just
oh no, I'm totally wrong. Free trial. So it's a paid online subscription service.
Okay,
so
it's like a WoW.
It's like a WoW. So I didn't realize they were a WoW. I've never played GTA Online, but like WoW. All right, still I stand by the model, right? I just know that they're successful, but like they chose a model of subscription, and so you have subscription models, right? You have free to play models. You have, and that becomes like the open demand models, like the free to play, like captured with the microtransactions. So it's like, why was League of Legends so successful? Because they took a pre-existing gameplay loop, which they knew was great. I think where they lacked most was the brand, right? Their world, but they nailed the model, and then they built the brand.
Yeah.
And that is why they became so successful. So like, if you were to ask, to me, all this kind of, again, it's like, that's how you determine success of a video game is those 3. And I say the same thing with companies, like product, brand, and model. Product, brand, and model. Like, you can evaluate the success of a game under the same criteria, just how I kind of laid it out. The world is the brand, kind of that. Halo's the brand. Like, how strong is that Master Chief brand? It's so strong. Right. Like, it's why, but their gameplay has struggled.
Yeah, the products. Yeah, right. The product is there. And they
and then they
experimented with the model, right? They introduced
and they experimented with the model, and I think it could have been successful, but because they messed up the gameplay with the product, it fell. Right, like so. Anyways, then that's its own conversation. I'd love to have that one deeper, but like, I know we're more talking about consoles, but all this, I don't know. I'm trying to wrap this all up. The gaming industry is shifting. Yeah. I think that the console, Xbox said they lost. They're kind of moving out. Steam is moving in, or Valve, I guess is a better way to put it. Valve is moving into the hardware. Hardware is shifting a ton because of just nature of what's going on in other industries. Like cloud gaming is kind of, becoming more prominent, but there's so much shifting going on. We can't predict what's going to happen, but I do think gaming has just become so mainstream. It's just going to start tearing up and down, meaning just certain people are going to get priced out. Certain people are going to be like, it's
going to be like the cars, like the car model. Some of us are going to drive Toyota Tacomas, and some of us are going to drive Lexuses, right?
Within the same game, even. It's not even always going to be certain games. Like, it's going to be certain people are just going to have, and I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's just like, if you understand that certain games are going to have tiers within them, certain games are going to be tiered themselves, right? Like, I don't play WoW. I'm tiered out, even though like I can't keep paying $15 a month for World of Warcraft. Like, that's just like, like I paid it for a while, but it's just like, that's crazy to me.
Can't make it work. Yeah,
I can't make it work. So
no, you're right. And you know what? It's gonna, I wonder if there's any historical precedent for something like this. Like you said, this is shaking up the video game industry. It's AI is affecting stuff from the development side to the hardware demand side to the actual
game production. It's just everything,
like the whole thing. And I almost wonder if the closest thing to that was maybe, I don't know, like the advent of like online play, like where like games shifted from just being something you have locally, where it's like you could have an Xbox, you could have Halo 2, but if you didn't have good internet and you didn't have that, your experience was tiered. You didn't get the same experience with Halo 2 that other people did or could have, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, you weren't experiencing that online play. You weren't experiencing like it's you were limited in your experience of that game.
Yeah, and it's the closest analog I can find. The closest comparison in the history, but we may be totally off. I mean, this is definitely I would think it's going to be more disruptive than even like the advent of the internet and online play.
Yeah, and it's why, again, indie games we will see the rise of indie games. Again, Expedition 33, Hollow Knight, Silk Song, like the ability to make a phenomenal game with a small team is just, that's coming back. So I think it's, and I say coming back, it's coming in is maybe a better way to put it, but
on the up and up.
It's on the up and up. And so smaller teams, these great games that you can make, but also because of that, it's why we then have quadruple A games.
Yeah.
It's the rise of the quadruple A games, which becomes these crazy experiences.
Yeah. This might be the bifurcation of the industry, where we're going to end up with the death of the middle man of games, or the middle class of games, where there's not going to be an AA game anymore. There's going to be indie games like Megabonk, and you're going to have, GTA 6.
Yeah,
and that's where you're going to exist in there. There's just going to be those type of games, and there's not going to really be stuff in the middle, or very few.
And I think there will be stuff. I think it's more just where the middle is you talk about tail. It's just over here, that quadruple A is just going to be so crazy, the amount of money they spend. All this other stuff it's relatively indie, right? Like 10 million on a game versus $1 million is, it's like drops compared to GTA 6, which is $2.5-3 billion.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they're spending as much on that as as it takes to make an entire TSMC chip fabrication facility.
It's crazy, and that's I think more what I'm. So people would be like, "Oh, there's not going to be double A game." I'm more just trying to say like
Okay.
relative, right? It's relative
Yeah.
in the sense of I think the games that are going to be successful, and I go back to those that innovate on model, those that, and it doesn't. I think it always has to be at least two of three, and I think there's nuance here, but like gameplay, I think has to be there, right? Like you got to have, and the reason why the only nuance there is like there's games that are story driven games or like brand, like the gameplay, it doesn't have to be that deep, and there's nuance, but like gameplay, the brand, the world, right, the experience all around that gameplay, and the model, how it's distributed. And so it's like you gotta at least have two of three. You gotta nail two of three.
Yeah.
And I think model's one of the hardest because it's, I don't know, it just that one's one of the hardest to innovate on, in my opinion. So like I think Vampire Survivors is, people go like, that's a game, dude, it didn't look that great. I think the gameplay wasn't that unique, you know what I mean? But the model, it was so cheap, and it was, sometimes model is timing too, by the way. But it's like same with Among Us. The model,
Yeah.
the timing. So it's like sometimes, and that's why I say the model sometimes is timing as well.
Sure, I
But
guess the model also involves distribution as well.
that's what I mean. So
Yeah.
model involves like you can always add layers to these things, right?
Yeah.
But like I like those three because model means how it's distributed, where it's distributed, when it's distributed. Like that's like all those pieces. So you could say model or distribution, but like model changes because of price. It's not just
Yeah.
distribution. It's how you price the game, where you price it, when you price it. Like this,
Yeah.
there's so many layers. So I think that's we're just going to see more innovation.
That's where you think we're going to see the most innovation is in the model side.
I think we're going to see a ton of innovation in the model side upcoming. And I think the games that are going to be successful are either going to be these really unique games. The ones in the indie space are just those that stand out. They have great gameplay and a great brand, Expedition 33, and the price is just, it's just like a one-time buy. Like that model is not unique.
Right.
But they nailed a unique
product,
gaming experience, and they nailed that brand, right? Yeah. They nailed it. And so it's like, that's why it was successful. I think we're going to see a lot of that. And then we're going to see a lot of changes in the model up higher up, right? Like we're going to see, there's going to be changes.
Yeah.
So
it will be interesting to see if anybody tries to go with branding. I don't think that branding as something as, the video game equivalent of organic food, where you're like, 100% human made,
I think there will be
see some of that. I just think it will have a niche audience. I don't think it will be that successful because at the end of the game, at the end of the day, what people care about is the product. After all these things that get it to you, the brand that keeps you interested, the distribution model to get it to you, is the product. Does that leave a good taste in your mouth? Did you enjoy it? And
yes, my only caveat, there's so many games that leave a good taste, but you don't know them because the game, that's the gameplay, right? They leave a good taste. It's a great experience, but they didn't stand out.
Right. But so if you're thinking hierarchy, and I suppose what I'm arguing is that, like you're saying that like a game will die if it has a good, you need at least 2 out of the 3 or something like
2 out of the 3,
right? So you will make money if you have 2 out of the 3. I'm talking about the staying power.
Oh, sure.
Is only going to be had by the ones that have the good product in the end, right?
Yes, and that's beautifully said. I think there's caveats, right? Like the model, you might have great branding and a great model. You may get a big upswing in buys, but then it doesn't retain, right? And so we're like gameplay, you might have phenomenal gameplay, but you have bad branding, right? Bad world building. Like you can't get people on. The people that you do though stay for a long time because they know it's so good, and they try to get other people involved. But like,
that's a Titanfall 2. Bad
beautiful,
model.
bad model, and I feel like the world building, it's a little convoluted. It's a little hard to follow. There's not like a master chief. There's not like somebody that just stands out in terms of like character,
the iconography. Yeah,
like there's nothing that just really, but like it's so cool and the gameplay was so like, that's a good example. That's actually a great example of somebody that had phenomenal gameplay, so innovative, but didn't really nail the branding.
Yep. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm I'm kind of I hope that A, we can build more chip fabs fast. I hope B, if anybody finds any good Black Friday deals, let us know.
Oh yeah, please.
And C, I'm excited to see how people innovate the product. I know I should maybe be excited. I'm not as business oriented as you, but the product to me, I'm excited to see what people can do in this brave new world of this tech,
And I know, like, the funny part is engineers will say that, and yet like you cling to Halo so much because of that brand and that emotion.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
That's true.
like that's just the honest truth. Like
Yeah.
you love these things and it's purely emotion because of that brand.
Bro, when you launch a rocket launcher at yourself with a plasma grenade and you catch a mustached man around the corner unsuspectingly with that same rocket,
Oh, devious.
I mean, yeah, that I'll live on that high for 20 years. But
I know. There's a clip where Spencer does quite the magical moment with
if you play Halo,
with
you
what
know.
he just described.
But
If you know, you know. But that the point it being is that's the power of brand, right? You talk about staying power of gameplay, staying power of brand, dude. But like, and it all, that's why I said it all compounds, right? Like it all compounds on itself. So I think we're just going to see more innovations in gameplay on the indie side, and I think we're going to see innovations in the model on the AAA, quadruple A side as we go forward. So cool. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. See you guys next week. Peace.